with another week review of wrestling for this week in wrestling. A lot of wrestling this week. Lucha Underground returned, got some TNA, NXT, Raw, SmackDown. So I'm going to try to go through everything as quickly as I possibly can because we got a lot to go over. So let's get started with Monday Night Raw, which did open with Stephanie McMahon and Mick Foley basically having a conversation over the Kevin Owens controversy, with Triple H helping him, become the Universal Champion. Which I find pretty interesting because after Triple H doing that and helping Kevin Owens win the Universal title, Triple H actually wasn't on the show tonight. So we got no explanation, no no hint at future storylines, nothing. It's just like Triple H just came in, did what he had to do, and he left. So, who knows? That could lead to something down the road. Maybe they were just setting us up to see what happened. But I actually would like to have some sort of explanation from Triple H or even from Kevin Owens, because I'm pretty sure Triple H told Kevin Owens afterwards what he did. In this scene here, on this backstage scene here, Mick Foley is talking to Stephanie. Just asking, for her word that she had nothing to do with or didn't know about the Triple H Kevin Owens situation, which, because Stephanie and Triple H is married, you have to believe it's complete BS. And if she didn't know then, I'm pretty sure she knows by the time they had this conversation. But that's how the show started. So let's get right into the first segment on Raw. So during this first segment, Kevin Owens comes out to basically give his congratulations speech. The fans start chanting, "You deserve it," in which he let them know, of course, he deserves it, and please stop cheering for me, aka don't turn me into a face because I'm still a heel, which is pretty awesome because I like when wrestlers actually acknowledge the fans, and you could either agree with what the fans are chanting or you could tell them where to stick it. So for him to do that was pretty cool. Seth Rollins came out and basically started the campaign for his face turn. Saying how he got screwed and that he wanted justice. In the end, Seth Rollins pretty much curses out Stephanie McMahon, saying that she screwed him in the back, and that he wants what he deserves. In which Mick Foley then grants Seth Rollins a championship match against Kevin Owens at the Raw pay-per-view, which is Clash of the Champions. So it looks like we're gonna have Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins, but things with that match will get a little interesting a little later, but we'll touch on that towards the end. First match to kick off the show is a women's division match, which shows Bayley versus the WWE Raw Women's Champion, Charlotte. Now, with all the injuries that have happened to the women on Raw, with Paige being suspended, the Raw Women's division is actually looking pretty thin, which is sad, not only because it's bad that to have so many people injured, but you bring somebody like Bayley, fresh out of NXT, and you've already immediately inserted her into a title picture, which, a lot of people don't really care, but I'm not really a big fan of that. I don't think just because someone shows up, they should just get a title shot because of things that they did in another promotion. Yeah, NXT it's the same company, but NXT is considered its own brand, it's considered its own promotion. It's their Orlando, Florida promotion. So to come up, and automatically get a title shot without really having to do much for it, like I said, I'm not a fan with. But with that being said, it's like, who else are they gonna what else can they do? Because they're pretty much short-staffed as it is. I'm more into the the women's roster on SmackDown, but we did get some good news regarding the women's division on Raw, which is also something we'll talk about soon. But in this match, Bayley does get the win over Charlotte, and now that she's gotten that victory over Charlotte, she'll most likely get a title shot at the Clash of the Champions pay-per-view. And if Bayley doesn't win that match at Clash of the Champions, then by then Sasha Banks will probably be back. Bayley did get the win in this match over Charlotte, so they may potentially tease a championship match with Bayley versus Charlotte going forward. But again, regarding Charlotte's opponent at Clash of Champions, we'll talk about that in a few. Bo Dallas is back, which surprised me a little bit because he still had his old theme music, which I really enjoy. I actually like Bo Dallas's theme music, but he got in the ring with a more aggressive attitude, which is completely the opposite of his theme song. It does, it looks like he's trying to portray himself as more of an aggressive character, which definitely isn't a bad thing. I mean, anything they can do to reinvent the guy is a good thing because they kind of ruined him. After he got the call up from NXT. I mean, he was a dominant NXT champion, and then he comes to the main roster, and then much like a lot of other people that made that transition, they basically didn't do anything with them. So hopefully this new thing for Bo Dallas does work. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's definitely good. In his case, any change is better. So good luck to him going forward. Next match was Chris Jericho versus Seth Rollins. Mick Foley made that match after Chris Jericho tried to speak up for Kevin Owens in the locker room. So Foley put him in a match with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is going on the rampage because Seth Rollins feels he was robbed, during the Fatal 4-Way for the title. So, he's just looking to take out his frustration. And again, this continues to give him the face push, continues to get the fans behind him. He's still using the pedigree, which is a direct lifeline to him and Triple H eventually having that one-on-one match. Hopefully they don't drag it out all the way until WrestleMania, but but we do know that match it's in the woodworks and it's coming eventually. But Seth Rollins gets the win over Chris Jericho with the pedigree, and he's steamrolling his way to Clash of Champions for that title shot. I will say this one funny note: in a few backstage segments, Chris Jericho referred to Kevin Owens as the longest reigning Universal Champion in history, which is both funny and a direct dig at Finn Balor. So obviously Finn Balor will be back eventually, and then he'll step right back into the picture. But Chris Jericho, he just does great work backstage, still doing great work in the ring. Calling Kevin Owens the longest reigning Universal Champion of all time is probably the funniest things on that whole entire show. So definitely props to Chris Jericho, but he doesn't get the win here tonight. Once again, Seth Rollins does get that victory, and we move right along. Cesaro versus Sheamus again, which I believe is match 3 in their best of 7 series for a championship opportunity. Cesaro suffered that supposed back injury during their second fight, where he got backdropped into the pillar, and so he comes out tonight. He still has his shoulder taped. He has his back taped up now as well, which in wrestling we all know is a direct target on someone's back. He put up a good fight, but you could tell that he was still selling the pain, still selling the injuries, and lo and behold, Sheamus does get the victory. Cesaro loses again, so I believe he's now down 0-3. And I think this is going to spark a Cesaro comeback. I think he's going to end up coming back, winning 4 straight, and getting that opportunity. They're just trying to make it interesting, which is good because Cesaro's been underutilized for a long time. So to put some emphasis, to put a little oomph on him making like a 4-0 comeback win, I think would be really cool. Now, if Sheamus beats him in a 4-0 sweep, then that's just blatant. That's just straight up sad. And if I'm Cesaro, I either quit or I go to SmackDown like ASAP. Now, here's something for me that I still don't understand what the hell they're doing. They have Enzo and Kaz take on the Shining Stars tonight. The Shining Stars, a tag team, which I wish they would do more with than what they're doing now, because both Primo and Epico are great talents, and they can both put on good matches. Now, Enzo and Kaz, they have a huge following. People like them. They're over with the crowd. They lose at SummerSlam. Big Kaz gets put in a championship Fatal 4-Way matchup. He loses. He ends up losing that, and then now they come out and they get beat by the Shining Stars. And I honestly have no idea what the plan is, what WWE is thinking. I don't understand the point of tearing Enzo and Kaz down as much as they are, but nevertheless, that's what's happening. The tag team division on SmackDown right now is definitely looking like the more superior division, especially seeing as how they got those beautiful silver dollar championships, and everybody on Raw is still fighting over 2 gigantic pennies. But another loss for Enzo and Kaz, and not much for me to say about it because I really don't know where they're going. I honestly don't know where they're going, but we're just going to have to keep tuning in and seeing what's going on. Now, another Nia Jax squash match in effect, but this one had a little spin on it. In this particular matchup, it turns out that the girl who is about to be squashed by Nia Jax is actually good friends with Alicia Fox. So we have an Alicia Fox sighting, something that we haven't seen on Raw in quite some time. But same old. Nia Jax ends up, squashing her friend. The girl actually did put up a fight. I don't wanna say it was a complete 100% squash. This was the first girl out of every girl that Nia's faced that actually did put up some offense, was actually putting up a good fight. But they did that more to sell the situation with Alicia Fox, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, in this match, Nia Jax gets another win, puts another girl down for the count. But the difference is this time, Nia Jax putting this particular girl down for the count actually leads into something. So this leads us to a very interesting backstage segment where Alicia Fox comes out of the locker room checking on her friend, who got destroyed by Nia Jax. Nia Jax comes out and confronts Alicia Fox about it, and then the two of them get into a back and forth. Now this is really interesting because during the exchange between the two of them, Alicia tried to bring back the crazy Fox gimmick, which I actually really wasn't a fan of the first time, when she was like throwing temper tantrums, like destroying the ringside, taking soda from people and drinking it. Like, it was funny maybe like the first couple of times, but then when I was like, wait a minute, this is going to be her actual gimmick. But she ended up bringing the crazy back, and during her crazy tirade, she's throwing things in the air, and she accidentally hits Nia Jax in the face with the box. And you can tell when she hit her with the box, it was an accident. And for a split second, she did break character because she was shocked by the fact that, she actually hit the girl in the face. But she did quickly try to recover from it. And when she hit her in the face, and then she went, ooh, for a second. And then she realized she was on live TV. And then, kept talking smack, and then Nia Jax's only reaction was to shove her, across, to shove her onto the table and walk away. Now, I like the fact that although they got off script for a half a second, I like the fact that they were able to pick it back up again. However, in a real life situation, in a real life realistic situation, after Nia Jax pushed her onto that table, she would have started pounding on her. The two of them would have gotten into something. They would have had to been broken up. I don't have a problem with the segment. Again, I'm not really a fan of the crazy Alicia Fox gimmick, but I do like that we're gonna get a Nia Jax Alicia Fox match, because Alicia Fox is a really good talent, and it'd be nice to see a spotlight put back on her for a change, where she can actually show people what she can do and bring herself back to relevance. I mean, it's obvious she's not going to win this feud between Nia Jax, because Nia Jax is the new girl. She's she's the monster. You can't complain that Alicia Fox is actually getting an opportunity to do something. Maybe she'll even get a match at Clash of Champions with Nia Jax. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I mean, I was cool with the segment. Like I said, the accidental face to box hit. It was kind of funny. It was cool to see that on live TV. Even for her breaking character for a second. But like I said, I just wish the two of them would have actually brawled, and that would have put the icing on the cake. But when this match actually happens, I will be tuning in because I am interested to see it. Really bad segment now with the New Day and Gallows and Anderson. With Gallows and Anderson bringing out three guys dressed up as old guys to pretend to be the New Day. I mean, this segment was so bad. When the New Day came out, they were even like, who the hell approved this? Like, they themselves just looked non-interested. And I mean, if they're going to take the titles off the New Day pretty soon, they're definitely having them go down in flames on their way out the door, because the tag team division on Raw is just so bad. The challengers for no wonder the New Day has the belts for as long as they had them, because there's nobody interesting that can fight them. I mean, Gallows and Anderson, they came in with a lot of steam. They came in as like destructive forces. They came in as like two powerful guys, and now WWE's got them doing like doctor gimmicks and just doing like goofy stuff. So it's not getting the crowd behind Gallows and Anderson at all, and it's not making the New Day look any good either. The New Day, they need a legitimate feud. They can legitimately fight somebody. And then I understand there's three of them in this group, but one of them should do a solo thing. Like, let Xavier Woods and Big E be the tag team champions. Let Kofi branch off and pursue like the heavyweight title. I mean, they can still be in a group and one of them can still go for a singles championship. It doesn't have to continuously be this three-man thing, because now what they're doing is they try to put them in situations with other wrestlers where there has to be three people on the other end, just so the third guy in the New Day has something to do. But I just don't want the New Day to get broken up because people no longer give a damn. And that's the direction that we've been going into for a while. So the WWE definitely has to shake something up, and maybe the New Day losing the titles will kick something up in them, but something's got to change because this stuff is just really bad. Darren Young is in a match versus Jabbar Mahal. Very sad. I said before, I wish Mahal would have gone to SmackDown, because on Raw, he's basically just going to become the designated Raw jobber, which is what's going on. During the match, Titus O'Neil, tried to get involved. Darren Young picked up the win over Jinder Mahal, no surprise there. And then, Titus O'Neil and Darren Young proceeded to exchange in some after-match shenanigans and some fisticuffs, in which Darren Young seemed to be getting the better over Titus O'Neil. I do not know what the hell these two are doing. I don't know what the purpose is. I don't know what Darren Young owes Titus O'Neil. I don't know where we're going. These two are probably going to end up having a one-on-one match at Clash of Champions, and neither one of them are champions. I actually do like both guys, but once Clash of Champions comes and goes and this feud is officially over, take one of them off this show and put them on SmackDown. And I prefer it to be Titus O'Neil, because at least on SmackDown, Titus O'Neil will actually have an opportunity to be something, but on the Raw side, he's just going to continue to, do dumb shit like this. Another Braun Strowman squash match is occurring, but this time he's actually fighting a member of the actual roster, which, it's still a squash match, but it's a change of pace, I guess. Nobody on the planet expects Sin Cara to win. Nobody even takes Sin Cara seriously, and we're probably all surprised that Sin Cara is even still on the roster at this point. Braun Strowman gets the win, end of that story. Now we have the Boss making her return. Sent out a tweet earlier that she had some bad news. She comes into the ring looking damn good. Between Sasha Banks and JoJo, that's a different conversation. Anyway, so Sasha Banks, she comes in, she starts giving this speech, about how the division has been brought up, started from the bottom, now they're at the top, and she starts name dropping, she starts name dropping a bunch of older women's competitors. And the way this whole thing was set up was giving off the impression that either she was going to tell us that her back injury was a lot seriously than we thought, and that she would have to get surgery and be missing, a long, significant amount of time, or it was going along the lines of retirement. And I can't even lie, there was a moment where I actually started getting a little concerned. I started getting a little emotional, because I was like, I know this girl's not about to say she's going to retire. I was actually getting ready to lose it. And before she had a chance to actually reveal what her bad news announcement is, Dana Brooke showed up and ended up telling Sasha Banks that she's going to make a name for herself at Sasha's expense and put her out for good. Obviously that doesn't work. Sasha Banks gets the better of her, and then when she gave her the bank statement, I was shocked, because I was like, I thought she was hurt. How could she pull off a bank statement? But then she grabs the microphone and lets her know that the bad news that she was referring to was for Charlotte, letting her know that she's back 100%, and at Clash of Champions we will have the rematch of Sasha Banks versus Charlotte, which is interesting because Bayley just got a victory over Charlotte, and now Bayley's in the mix as well. Bayley can actually make the argument that she pinned the champion, so she deserves the match at Clash of Champions. This coming Monday, they may tease that. They may bring that up. Bayley may bring that up, but for now, we have the rematch of Sasha Banks versus Charlotte, which I'm looking forward to seeing. I hope Sasha gets the belt back. Finally, on to the main event of the evening, where Sami Zayn takes on his former best friend, and now champion Kevin Owens. Good matchup between the two. Nothing different than we've already seen. Kevin Owens does get the victory over Sami Zayn because Kevin Owens is the champion, and I don't think Vince really believes in Sami Zayn anyway. So after he celebrates in the ring, beating his former best friend. That actually brings out Roman Reigns, which was interesting because you hadn't seen Roman Reigns the entire night. He shows up at the end of the show, Doesn't say a word again. The last few weeks I've noticed that that's what they've been doing with Roman Reigns. They've been putting him in situations where he's not talking. He's just coming out and just doing his thing, which is good. You know, that's the type of character that he is. He's just a guy that comes out, whoops ass, and goes home. Now, this is legit because the man has a legitimate gripe. Like, Seth Rollins wasn't the only person who took a pedigree from Triple H and got screwed out of that championship match. So he definitely has a gripe as well, to want to be in the Clash of Champions match. He comes in, the two of them get into it, which then brings out Mick Foley, and Mick Foley telling Kevin Owens that, you know, he does recognize Roman Reigns' position, and next week he's going to give Roman Reigns an opportunity to get into the championship match. We will have Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens next week on Monday Night Raw, and if Roman Reigns wins, he gets added to the championship match at Clash of Champions, and it'll become a triple threat. And I think this is cool because Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns with Kevin Owens in the mix is actually a way better feud. You know, it's a way better situation for for the three of them. Regardless of what happens, Kevin Owens isn't going to lose the title, but they're giving us a good main event match, and I'm all for that. So whatever happens going forward with this, like I said, you know, I look forward to it, and you know, so you could definitely sign me up. So overall, you know, with the exception of the Sasha Banks swerve and the Alicia Fox, Nia Jax slight mistake. I mean, the bad New Day segment. I mean, Raw was it was more on the bad side than the good, but it didn't suck. It just wasn't that great. So, I mean, I would give the show a 6 overall because the matches were at least pretty decent, and there were some good things that you could take from it. So, yeah, but that was it. That was this week's Monday Night Raw. A-show time, Blue Brand in full effect. We have SmackDown action now. This week's SmackDown kicked off with an in-ring segment with Daniel Bryan talking to the 6 women who will be involved in the 6-pack challenge to crown the first ever SmackDown Women's Champion. And like I've stated over and over and over again, I'm a huge fan of the SmackDown Women's division. I love, you know, all the girls that are on the division. I love the fact that it's an even playing field and that anybody can win. In this segment, nothing out of the ordinary happened. With the exception of Natty, like the new girls basically came out to get the crowd, you know, just to tell the crowd more of who they are. We have, you know, Becky Lynch came out, which is the crowd favorite. The crowd is pretty much like, yeah, they're basically like more into Becky Lynch, you know, more so than anybody else. I'm gonna get into predictions for the Backlash pay-per-view a little bit later, but during the segment, the 3 girls in the ring, they pretty much was just like, hey, there's 3 of us, there's one of Becky, let's jump her, and that brings out Naomi and Nikki to come out and defend her. So after that, you know, in the good old fashioned SmackDown tradition, we're gonna have ourselves a good old fashioned tag team match with Alexa Bliss, Carmella, and Natalya versus Nikki, Naomi, and Becky Lynch. So 6 3-on-3 action, tag action coming up tonight. So far so good. Definitely looking forward to this one. First match of the night, The Miz comes out to have a one-on-one match, a return match actually, with Apollo Crews. This match I was actually pretty excited for because I thought Apollo Crews got put up one hell of a fight at SummerSlam. I thought he was really impressive, you know, but he didn't get the win obviously. But in this situation, I actually knew he wasn't going to win either because, you know, they got The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental title, so they're going to have the champion look strong and have The Miz get the victory. But it gave Apollo Crews a chance to showcase himself more to the fans. The problem with Apollo Crews, as good as a talent as he is, and as much as I'm a huge fan of Apollo Crews, they took him off of NXT too early, to the point where people don't really know who he is. So when he comes out on SmackDown events, everybody's like, who the hell's this random black dude? And then he comes out with the smiling and everything. He doesn't really like show too much, but when he's in the ring, he performs. He has good counters, good acrobatics, good moves, and he's doing more to get the crowd involved. Like now, when he does his backflips, like he talks to the crowd more, he gives the crowd more high fives. He's being more interactive, and and I like that. Like this match for me wasn't about whether or not Apollo Crews would get the victory. It was just about Apollo Crews selling himself more to the fans. But again, during the match, Dolph Ziggler, who was doing commentary, ended up getting involved, and due to his involvement. There was a point where Apollo Crews tried to do a baseball slide. He almost hit Ziggler. They moved out the way, and then The Miz capitalized and snuck out a victory. That caused Dolph Ziggler to hold The Miz's title hostage, asking him to come in and get it, in which The Miz ends up sending his wife to go into the ring to get the belt, which I thought was hilarious and awesome because the man is a heel, so that's a perfect heel move. The Miz is a dick. Like, it's entertaining. We love him and Maurice together. And a matchup between him and Dolph Ziggler at the Backlash pay-per-view will be great. It sucks that Apollo Crews gets lost in the shuffle, but the kid is new and, he still has some time ahead of him to make a name for him, to continue to make a name for himself with every day that passes. But good stuff here. Good stuff here. And definitely a good opening matchup for SmackDown. So we got that women's tag team action that we were looking for. Becky Lynch, Naomi, and Nikki Bella versus Alexa Bliss, Carmella, and Natalya. Yeah. So, nothing crazy happened. Best part of this whole match, which is something that I've been a fan of since it first happened, Carmella once again still found a way to whoop Nikki's ass. Like, Carmella ended up getting a submission victory over Nikki Bella, to the point where she had her in that triangle leg submission that she likes to do, and the announcers referenced the bad neck by Nikki, which forced Nikki to tap out. So Carmella's team does get the victory. Carmella actually gets her revenge because if you remember, it was Carmella at SummerSlam who got pinned by Nikki Bella when she made her return, which then sparked Carmella to turn heel, and basically every time she saw Nikki in the street, it was a misunderstanding. So. But in this case, I'm actually happy to see that Carmella got a win back. She got a revenge. So this definitely leaves a lot of heat going into the Backlash pay-per-view to crown the first champion. I do have my thoughts on what this feud is going to do regarding the title match, but again, I'll get into that at the end of the video. Second round matchup to crown the first ever Silver Dollar Tag Team Champions puts the American Alpha versus the Usos in a match outcome that everybody saw coming, but no one saw coming, which is the Usos ended up turning heel, or it appeared to be in the beginning of the match where they jumped American Alpha right from the beginning. But the one thing that nobody saw coming, the American Alpha actually got the victory within 2 seconds flat. It ended up being a real short match. The Usos were talking a lot of trash going into this match, saying how they're the veterans and these young kids got to learn, and then they end up losing before I had a chance to use the bathroom, which then forced the heel turn that everybody's been waiting for with the Usos. The Usos basically came out like a house ablaze and just whooped on American Alpha, put him out of commission. They did a couple of moves where they busted up Gable's leg, and it was reported on Talking Smack by Shane McMahon that Gabriel does have a serious leg problem that will keep him out of the Backlash pay-per-view, which sucks because American Alpha with this win ended up in the finals. Now you have Heath Slater and Rhino going to the finals, and they don't have any opponents. So this is something that I said before that Heath Slater and Rhino were basically going to win these titles, but seeing as how that the American Alpha can't compete and they don't want to just give Slater and Rhino the titles, they're going to have the last two losers, which are the Usos and the Hype Bros. They're going to fight at the pre-show, I believe, the pre-show of Backlash, with the winner facing Heath Slater and Rhino. So my prediction is the Usos are most likely going to beat the Hype Bros, which will put the Usos versus Heath Slater and Rhino in the finals, and American Alpha may come out and cost the Usos the tag team titles or not. But actually, let me not get too much into predictions. I'll make Again, I'll make all my predictions later, but but the American Alpha gets the win, but they're out of the tournament. So Heath Slater and Rhino now have to face the winner of the Usos and the Hype Bros. Bray Wyatt cut a promo, Randy Orton told a story, and Kane destroyed Fandango. This then leads us to the matchup with the Hype Bros versus Heath Slater and Rhino, semi-final matchup to determine who gets to go to the finals. And just like I predicted, Heath Slater and Rhino defeat the Hype Bros and they go to the finals. Heath Slater's 19 children were in attendance to see their dad get the victory, which now puts Heath Slater and Rhino into contention. It now puts Heath Slater and Rhino in the championship match to crown the tag team Silver Dollar champions. And I'm saying it now, I said it before, Heath Slater and Rhino are most likely going to win this. And finally, the WWE champion Dean Ambrose is doing an in-ring promo with the face that runs the place, AJ Styles. It was a cool segment. The two of them, threw their verbal jabs back and forth, and then at the end of the fight, AJ Styles kicked Dean Ambrose in the nuts, and then the show ended. So that's pretty much what happened. Like nothing special happened there. So they're basically saving any physical altercations between the two of them until the actual Backlash pay-per-view. Now I just want to quickly get into my predictions on the Backlash pay-per-view. And I'm calling it now. Usos defeat the Hype Bros to go to the finals versus Slater and Rhino, in which Slater and Rhino win the titles. Slater gets his contract, and the Usos either lose by a surprise roll up by Slater, or the American Alpha shows up to distract them so Slater and Rhino can get the victory. This will then spark a feud between American Alpha and the Usos, and then Slater and Rhino can probably face like the Vaudevillains or somebody for a while. They'll give Slater maybe like a month run with the title before they eventually take it off him. Regarding the women's six-pack challenge, my hope is that Naomi walks away as the SmackDown Women's Champion. The obvious choices in the matter for everybody is Becky Lynch and Nikki Bella, and both of those are obvious choices, which is why I don't think they should do it. And I think because of the beef between Nikki and Carmella are going to cancel each other out and eliminate each other from the match. It'll probably, with my hope, it'll probably end up going down to Naomi versus Becky or Natalya, with Naomi winning. But with the thing that's going on with the NXT girls and the Four Horsewomen, you gotta imagine they'll put the belt on Becky. I just hope they don't, because again, it's such an obvious move. Nobody's gonna be surprised or happy to see that. So they with Kevin Owens, they gave us the Swerve. They could have gave us Roman Reigns. They could have gave us Seth Rollins. They gave us Kevin Owens. So do the same thing in this case and give us the next best person that we don't see coming, and put the belt on Naomi. Intercontinental Championship match. I believe that The Miz does retain. I don't see him losing to Dolph Ziggler, and I think that after The Miz defeats Dolph Ziggler, Apollo Crews is going to get one more shot at that title. Randy Orton will defeat Bray Wyatt because Orton needs that victory after getting his head busted open by Brock Lesnar, which again does nothing for Bray Wyatt. And AJ Styles wins the championship from Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose's time has come. AJ Styles' time is now. You beat John Cena clean in the ring at the second biggest pay-per-view of the year. To beat John Cena clean in the middle of the ring at SummerSlam and not win the title is sad. So AJ Styles becomes your new WWE champion this Sunday at Backlash. Alright, time for some TNA, and I'm going to try to go through the TNA without laughing. Not because it's bad, but because this obsolete theme is so uncontrollably awesome. It just makes me laugh, out loud and on the inside. You gotta give big respect to what Matt and Jeff are doing. Everybody thought, nobody expected them to do anything. Everybody thought this was gonna be ridiculous, and this thing is over like $1 million. And we have the matchup tonight with Decay versus Delete. with the Hardy family versus Decay. Decay, another group that I'm actually into. I'm digging Rosemary. I like the whole dynamic. Both groups are crazy. The whole thing works, and they've left the zone of impact, and they have now brought themselves to the Hardy compound to face Decay in fisticuffs, and team action. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But for now, let's get started with the actual wrestling program. The Miracle and Maria are in the ring, pissed off. I don't know why Maria's pissed. She has a title. Miracle's basically upset because he got jerked by Moose and he didn't win the championship, so now he's looking for a new way in. He said that he actually fired Moose from being his assistant, and now he can move on to bigger and better things, which is completely silly. We all knew what was about to happen here. Dixie Carter then comes out and then lets the Miracle know that not only is he not getting a shot at the TNA Championship at Bound for Glory, his opponent at Bound for Glory is going to be the person who he fired, and TNA's new sign. She even did the Moose symbol, and then the crowd went bananas. Moose got his music back, and we have the Miracle Mike Bennett versus Moose at Bound for Glory, which is something that I called. But one thing about this that I do like, Dixie Carter also said to Maria, I believe she said in a backstage segment that because Maria is the champion, her hand was supposedly broken or whatever. Now that she's the champion, it is a conflict of interest for her to be the leader of the Knockouts. Therefore, she stripped her of her Knockouts leadership, which is awesome. And next week, we're going to find out who's going to face Maria for the title at Bound for Glory. You gotta, even with all the Alley stuff that's happening, you gotta believe it's Gail Kim, because, she's going into the Hall of Fame. And it'd be nice to see Gail Kim actually become a Knockouts champion, during the day she gets her Hall of Fame acceptance. That's just my prediction, but some good stuff happening, and like I said, and now we've got Moose versus the Miracle at Bound for Glory. Knockouts tag team matching is up now with the gorgeous Jade and Gail Kim versus Sienna and Allie. Allie's still being mistreated. There's nothing to this match other than the fact that it was basically designed to get Allie over as a face and tease the fact that she will eventually turn on Sienna and Maria and become a face. During the match, Allie got involved. Sienna got pissed. Sienna gave Allie the pounce, which had Jade go for the cover, and for Jade and Gail Kim to get the victory in this tag team match. But the point where they tease the face turn, well, the 100% face turn for Allie to join the good side and to leave Maria and Sienna behind, after Allie got laid out by her supposed friends and her backup, it was Gail Kim and Jade who actually was there for her and helped her up. Allie had the look on her face like she thought she was going to get jumped again, but she was actually embraced by Jade and Gail, which Allie was obviously confused by. So hopefully she remembers this act of kindness that was shown to her. Hopefully Allie will assist Gail Kim at Bound for Glory, so Gail Kim can once again become Knockouts champion on the same night she gets into the Hall of Fame. But good stuff for the Knockouts division. Sad I didn't get to see Marty Bell, but hey, that's maybe next week. Now, real quick, I just want to talk about this with the Hardys at the zoo. When Matt Hardy brought them to the cage of monkeys, the cage of spot monkeys, when he named every single person in the X division after the spot monkeys in the cage, I literally almost died. And then he says that his brother Nero used to be a spot monkey. Yeah, broken Matt's this shit. Like, this stuff is gold. This dude's doing like some of the best work he's ever done in his career. So last week I actually mentioned, conspicuous by its absence, no one was talking about the King of the Mountain Championship. And then, well, the president of TNA comes out and says that the King of the Mountain title is officially retired, and it's being replaced by what is called the Grand Championship. And I have to say, I like that title. The title is awesome. I think it looks good. It's TNA's Intercontinental Championship, which brings out Drew Galloway now to talk his ish, but he deserves to be the first ever Grand Champion. The rules of the Grand Champion, they're actually taking a page out of MMA, Bellator mixed martial arts style, where the title will be defended under 3 2-minute rounds, and if both rounds go the distance and it goes to a judge's split decision, each round is judged and wrestlers do accumulate points, and the match could also end anytime by pinfall or submission. So it's basically an MMA wrestling match. And at first, I didn't really like it when they explained it. But then when I watched the matches, and I was like, okay, it's basically MMA rules with the 3 2-minute rounds, and with judges making a decision if it goes all 3 rounds. But it's still a wrestling match at the end of the day. It's basically a wrestling match where you get a break. You get a break every 2 minutes to catch your breath and then to keep going. But I do like it because it does provide more aggression in the matches, because since there's a time limit to the matches, the participants are a little bit more aggressive with trying to get it over with as quickly as possible. So, like I said, I was a little shaky at first, but the title looks awesome. You know, the matches that they had tonight were actually cool, so I don't have any complaints. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing who becomes the first ever Grand Champion, which we all know is going to come down between Drew McIntyre or Aaron Rex. But if Eli Drake, ends up walking out with that too, I wouldn't be surprised, and I definitely wouldn't be upset. So Drew Galloway has the first Grand Championship contenders match, and this is another example of tournament style where they have 8 matches. And the 4 guys that are going to win these 8 matches are obvious. It's obviously going to be Drew McIntyre, Eli Drake, Aaron Rex, and I forget who the hell's in the 4th match. So, Drew Galloway wins. It's not a surprise. But regarding the match format itself, I was okay with. I actually enjoyed it. So, this definitely has me interested to see what happens going forward. And, and just for the sake of me saving time on this video, later on, Eli Drake takes on one half of the Bromance, and although the Bromance guy put up a good fight, Eli Drake wins that match too. So we have Eli Drake and Drew McIntyre advancing, no surprise there. But next week, Aaron Rex has his debut match, which he will also win, and he will go forward in the title picture as well. So then, Bobby Lashley and EC3 had their press conference going into Bound for Glory, and EC3 basically did the same old, but Bobby Lashley actually cut a damn good promo. He made a lot of good points about how, because of his MMA background and his wrestling experience, he's the most dominant person in the sport of professional wrestling, and he dares somebody to tell him otherwise, which I feel was like a hidden dig at Brock Lesnar. Lashley did reference other wrestling promotions that try to take TNA down, but he's the champ, and nobody's going to beat him. And, to be honest, I hope he wins at Bound for Glory, because EC3 should not beat him. He is Bobby Lashley. He is the Destroyer, and I hope to see the Destroyer destroy when, on the biggest stage of all, on the biggest stage of TNA's calendar year. So, but definitely kudos to both guys. They did the best they could to build this match. One thing about this I was surprised about, though, if these two are supposed to be your main event for Bound for Glory, and they're supposed to be like your money match that brings people in the seats, why is no one breaking this fight up? Because one of them could get an injury, one of them could break something, and then your main event is ruined. So the fact that they allowed this fight to go on as long as it did, I thought wasn't realistic to the situation. Nevertheless, I still enjoyed the fact that the two of them had the fight to begin with. So kudos going forward, but management needs to get up on that a little bit and do their job. So finally, we have Delete versus Decay. Decay versus the Hardy family at the Hardy compound, and I was actually very entertained by this. It started with the Hardys coming out with firework guns, blasting fireworks at Decay. It spread out into the forest. There was a lot of fighting in the pool, some fighting on boats. Joseph Park actually made a return, showing that Abyss can switch himself from Joseph Park back to Abyss at the drop of a dime, which I thought was really hilarious, and I hope he does that a little bit more, because it'd be pretty cool. But one thing that did disappoint me, I did want to see a little more interaction between the women. I thought that that Rosemary and Reby were gonna have a little fight or a little feud, but I guess it's hard to do that when there's like a child present. But they just cut to a scene where Reby was like laid out, and then Rosemary stole the baby and walked out of the house with the baby. But then Vanguard 1 ended up interfering. Rosemary destroyed it, and in the end, the baby was saved. But they had, and I guess you could say that the Hardys won the fight, but they saved the baby. But Senor Benjamin and Jeff Hardy, I believe, got kidnapped by Decay. They didn't actually really I know at least Senor Benjamin got kidnapped. They didn't say whether or not Jeff got kidnapped, but that's kind of where we're at, where the baby's safe, but Jeff and Senor Benjamin are missing, which means we have not seen the last of Decay versus Delete. So, yeah, that was it for TNA. Overall, I would have to give this show, for the unveiling of the new championship and for the final deletion 2, I would have to give this show a good 8.5 because, I really enjoyed TNA this week. I thought it was really entertaining. So definitely nothing bad to say here. So Lucha Underground is back. When we last saw Lucha Underground, Dario Cueto, the Spanish Vince McMahon, did get arrested. On tonight's return show, he was released. We had a little cameo by the Honky Tonk Man, who provided him with his belongings upon his release. He gets into a limo where a gentleman in the limo said that he bailed him out once and he won't bail him out again, and we still have no idea why he was even arrested to begin with. Nevertheless, it's good that Lucha Underground's back, and I'm definitely happy because I was on a high after I saw Ultima Lucha 2. So I'm looking forward to this season and Ultima Lucha 3, and I'm more so looking for some Katrina because that's a conversation for a different day. So in our first segment, Dario comes out and announces that Pentagon Dark will be facing Rey Mysterio in a one-on-one match. And then he also brings out his newest creation, which is Dario's Wheel of Doom. He spins the wheel. Whoever's name lands on has the opportunity of getting destroyed by his brother, and in which Son of Havoc is the recipient. As you know, Son of Havoc actually won the unique opportunity in last time's Ultima Lucha, but the unique opportunity was taken away from him by Famous B and the Doctor. So it looks like they're giving Son of Havoc an opportunity to make amends for them screwing him over at Ultima Lucha 2, and he gets an opportunity against Dario's brother. Now, he lost. He lost pretty bad. Dario Cueto's brother is still Lucha Underground champion, and Son of Havoc basically goes back to the end of the line. Ivelisse shows up with new hair color, which is really beautiful. Basically comes out saying that she got jerked at Ultima Lucha 2, and at Ultima Lucha 3, she challenges Katrina to a one-on-one match. Now, Ultima Lucha 3 is an entire season away, and it looks like we already have one of our main event matches. It's interesting because I definitely want to see Katrina wrestle because that girl is bad, and I definitely enjoy watching Ivelisse work as well. So to see the two of them mix it up is actually going to be probably one of the best women's matches aside from the No Mas match that happened. And I hope Katrina actually does wrestle at least once before that happens as well, because I definitely want to see, because when she was Maxine in WWE, her ring work was really coming along. So I definitely hope they give her at least one match to see what she looks like now. Now, in a backstage segment, Johnny Mundo and his posse basically is campaigning for a championship match, in which Dario told them no. He said that the reason why he's not going to grant them the match is because they lost at Ultima Lucha, but Johnny's girlfriend actually won her match at Ultima Lucha. So since she was the one who won her match, she decides to put her in a match versus Sexy Star for the Gift of the Gods Championship. So if Johnny Mundo's girlfriend, whose name I can't remember, wins this match, then she would be the Gift of the Gods champion, and she could wrestle Dario's brother for the title, which nobody wants to see that. It is good that in the end, Sexy Star did win. She did win the match. She did retain the championship despite potential interference from Johnny Mundo and the gang, which then brought out the trio's tag champions to defend Sexy Star after Johnny and the crew started basically beating the living crap out of her. We will get a trio's championship tag team rematch between Johnny's crew and Phoenix's crew, and for the moment, Sexy Star is still the Gift of the Gods Championship, so it's only a matter of time before she decides to cash that bad boy in and then get completely destroyed. And in the main event for Lucha Underground did have Rey Mysterio versus Pentagon Dark, who is Cero Miedo, if I'm saying it correctly. I actually like that dude. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Pentagon Dark. But he's going up against Rey Mysterio, who's one of the best in the business today. So no surprise here. Rey Mysterio does get that victory, and he does defeat Pentagon Dark. Pentagon Dark was this close to breaking Rey Mysterio's arm when Rey Mysterio got assistance from one of his people. I can't remember that guy's name either. Which looks like there may be a feud going forward, but who can tell? And finally, in a post-credit segment, you can call it, Vampiro shows up talking to Prince Puma. Prince Puma, who wasn't seen the entire show. He basically tells Prince Puma, that he has to bounce back and he should be angry and blah blah blah. And you're thinking this is gonna lead Vampiro to tell Prince Puma he should turn on Rey Mysterio, and which Prince Puma even said, he's like, "Oh, you want me to, to fight Rey?" But then, but he tells him no. He was like, "I don't want you to beat up Rey Mysterio," which I thought was shocking because I thought that was the obvious route that they were going. Instead of him asking him to turn on Rey Mysterio or to fight Pentagon Dark, he actually says he needs to take down Muriel Meltez, which is shocking. I mean, I definitely wouldn't mind seeing that match again because the two of them had a good one in the first Ultima Lucha. So, very interesting to see where that goes, and if he follows suit. Definitely can't complain about Lucha Underground. It was a good comeback. It was definitely a good comeback episode for them. I mean, I would have to give the show a 7 only because there were a lot of things that were missing. I mean, there was no famous B. There was really a lot of the feuds from the last one didn't really, come over just yet, but it's only an hour show, so there's only but so much they can do. But but the show was still solid. I definitely enjoyed the show, so I give it a 7. And as always, I look forward to next week's Lucha Underground. Finally, we'll talk about some NXT. A decent show this week. It kicks off with with some of the aftermath of still from Brooklyn, where Asuka will be showing up tonight. First match of the evening, tag team action with the new tag team TM61. They're up in tag team action, taking on Tony Nese and Daivari, two guys from the Cruiserweight Classic. So pretty decent because if you watch the Cruiserweight Classic, you see what these two guys can do. Pretty decent match. Nothing too exciting just yet. Just an introduction for both of them. And TM61 is still rising and still trying to make a name for themselves as as a legitimate tag team to be reckoned with. But TM61 gets the W here, and we move right along. Asuka comes out next to have an interview since she defeated Bayley at NXT Brooklyn. And it's appropriate that she's having an interview because her having a match at this point is completely pointless. Because with the exception of Ember Moon, I don't think there's anybody on that show that can even touch Asuka at this point. One thing I did like during the interview, Tom did ask her about the women that got called up from NXT. And Asuka gave the best answer you could possibly give, saying that they're lucky they got the call up, otherwise, they'd have got their ass whooped by her. So, and you gotta, from what we've all seen, you can't say that's a lie. The girl's on fire, the girl's destroying them. And once she has that matchup with Ember Moon, she needs to get the call up because the group of women on NXT now, they're coming up together. They're all on an equal playing field. Asuka is clearly above all of them. And I also got to say her English is getting a lot better as well. So let Asuka have one more match, like I said, hopefully against Ember Moon, because she seems to be the only person that's, that seems to have enough talent to touch her. And then bring the girl up to SmackDown because you've already brought up, as many people as you could for the Raw division. But we'll see where it goes. NXT Women's action now, where we have Ember Moon making her NXT Full Sail debut. This is her second televised match that we've seen, facing some random girl. I mean, I've never seen the girl. I guess she's one of the trainees in the Performance Center. She's another blonde, so there's a bunch of them that WWE just cranks out on a regular basis. But But the whole thing was designed to make Ember Moon look strong in front of the NXT audience, in which Ember Moon does get the victory over this new girl, and she gets the victory with the move that's actually being talked about, throughout the women's waves, with the off the top rope corkscrew stunner, bang. So yeah, Ember Moon picks up the win. Loving everything I'm seeing from her, and I can't wait till she has an actual feud with an actual opponent, and I look forward to that Ember Moon Asuka match. The greatest man that ever lived, Austin Aries, going up against Cien Almas, and it's funny how when Austin Aries first debuted, the crowd didn't really like him, and they were kind of booing him. They weren't really into it, and I get it because he was a face. But ever since he he completely disrespected No Way Jose, and now that he's a heel again, he's doing his dirtbag stuff. Now the crowd's chanting Aries, Aries, and nobody actually likes Cien Almas, so the crowd was thoroughly behind the greatest man that ever lived, Austin Aries, in this particular matchup. So, of course, Austin Aries does pick up the victory via submission with the last chancery, and at this point I'm waiting for Austin Aries to have a real feud with a real opponent, because we all know that these guys, are no match for him. They can't give the guy the call-up yet because they don't want to gut the show out too badly. Until then, we're going to see Austin Aries on the show for a little while. Like I said, I just hope eventually they find somebody who can actually really feud with them. And finally, in our main event, Steve Coulter goes up against the NXT champion Shinsuke Nakamura. Just like that, Nakamura gets the victory. Samoa Joe on commentary, and surprisingly, a very calm Samoa Joe. He's a little humbled by the loss that he took in Brooklyn. He's a little taken back. He even admitted he may have overlooked some things with Nakamura. But Joe looks like he's coming back with a vengeance. I think a quiet, lackadaisical, somber Samoa Joe is more dangerous than the angry, aggressive, wild Samoa Joe. So when he finally decides to let the cat out of the bag, when his jaw is healed, which is the injury that they're selling, I look forward to the rematch. And then maybe once the match is officially over, maybe both guys get the call up, because Joe's been on NXT long enough, so he actually needs to go. But good show by NXT. I would definitely give it a solid 7, and I just look forward for actual feuds building, going forward. So with that being said, that was my week review of wrestling for this week in wrestling. Thanks for everybody that watched. We got some good content coming up in the near future. I will be doing a review for the SmackDown Backlash pay-per-view, so look forward to that as well. And I'm just saying, keep it locked, keep it tuned, and let's just keep the discussion going with everything that we're talking about.